You're listening to the Go Be the Church podcast.
The translation that I like the most says, start off your child in the way that they will go. But enjoying them should never come at the expense of raising them.
They're unsure of why this is happening, then it's going to make that transition and that season
hey, spoiler alert, parents, your kids know you're not perfect.
Yeah, right.
So just own it.
You start as a caretaker, responsible for every meal, every bath, and every no. But the goal isn't to stay there forever. The goal is a grown man or woman who loves Jesus with their own heart and walks in their own calling. But how do you actually get them from here to there? Whether you're currently teaching a toddler to listen and obey, or learning how to let go of a college student, understanding these shifts is a difference between constant friction and lasting influence. It's time to parent for a legacy, not just for the day. Let's dive in.
Once again, we're back with another episode of the Go Be the Church podcast. I am here with Eric. So we are in our final installment of our Relational Mini-Series.
Dating.
Yes, single dating, marriage.
Mating.
Yeah, dating, mating.
No, waiting to be empty nesters.
Waiting to be empty nesters. Some really, just again, if you haven't checked out last week's episode, go check it out. Amazing, just really practical advice and stuff on how to raise kids up in the faith. But something that kind of came out of that we knew we couldn't touch on. We didn't have enough time for the last one, but would love to dig in here too. Is in the last episode you mentioned making sure that you know your kids really well, and you parent them, in the way that they're going to listen best, and in the way that they're going to understand these things
based on their natural personalities and temperaments.
Exactly. But I think there's also, I know you've said in the past that even based on ages, based on there are these different stages that kids kind of go through, that I think would be just incredibly helpful for our listeners to hear.
We can walk through those. Ages and stages or seasons. There's 4. They all start with the word C. I'll name them all now, and then I'll kind of unpack them. And then for each one, we can pause and have any questions or follow-up thoughts. So there's the caretaker phase.
Okay.
The coach phase, the consultant phase, and then the celebrator phase. And a lot of this comes from the idea, last week we talked about having a long-term mindset. Proverbs 22 verse 6. The translation that I like the most says, start off your child in the way that they will go. And I like that idea of remembering, the goal is you have the opportunity and the responsibility to steward your child or children, to release them to be fully formed, not just adults, but humans who love and follow Jesus with their life. First, providing clarity when needed, but there's also a sense of your 5-year-old probably isn't going to have the intellectual bandwidth to have. They don't even I had to learn when my 4-year-old, or at the time 4-year-olds, would do something wrong. I'd be like, why did you hit your sister? Or why did you kick your brother? I don't know.
Right.
That's a legitimate answer.
Exactly.
When they say, I don't know, they literally mean they're not trying to get out of the question.
Right.
They're being honest.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And so that's where, again, reminding, okay, my job is to make sure they're fed and they're taken care of, caretaking them, but also to instill standards. This is what we do. And some of that is, here's what we do. Here's what we don't do.
Right. Yep. So just thinking of you shared the example of, when you discipline, it isn't so much so, I need you to understand exactly where this is coming from so that you understand here's the standard rule, and I think sometimes we forget that our kid, we think our kids are going to have the same level of cognitive processing that we have.
Yeah.
But a lot of time it's no, we don't do that because we don't do that. And
and that's okay. And that's an okay.
Yeah.
One of our things when one of our kids is out of this, our other child is almost out of this.
Yep.
You would have heard in our house a lot, hey, listen and obey.
Yep.
Because what we are instilling is like there's order. So you are caretaking in the sense, this is the standards, these are the values, listen and obey. This is what we do as people of God.
Yeah. And I think it sounds like too, there's also this level of trust. Like you may not know why now, but
yeah,
you
100%.
need and I know an example in our family is as we've adopted this listen and obey. Instilling the rules, instilling kind of those regular rhythms of how your family operates and things. And then also, how you operate as a Christian.
Yep.
You know, there are certain things that you do and certain things you don't do that very
or
early
should
on
do and should not do.
Right.
Yep.
Should and should not. Yeah. Right. Do and do not if hopefully, but should and should not for sure. That you can even start. It sounds like you can start instilling those pretty early on and then those build up that rhythm. That's cool.
So then we go to the second season or stage, which is what I call the coach stage.
Okay.
And so what does a coach do? They instill skills. And so this is about, again, age 8, 9 through about maybe 13, 14, 15. I have spent part of my career in that, as well as I think scripture speaks to this, and then just everything I've read and studied or whatever. So, so the coach phase, 8 to 15, you're instilling skills. And this is where, as a parent, you are gaining influence into your child's life. So if you think of phase 1 caretaking, your authority is what they need to know more than your influence. But that starts to maybe kind of balance out. I wouldn't say it shifts. It balances out where you need to gain influence, because when they start to hit 12, 13, we were all there. Yeah. Like our parents didn't know jack squat. They didn't know anything. They were dumb. They didn't know what was best for me.
Yep, exactly.
And so by that point, if your kid gets to that age and you haven't gained any influence, if it's just authoritarian, that's where I think a lot of rebellion may or may not start to set in. And so you need to start gaining influence. And so we shift from listen and obey to then speaking to, well, this is how we do things. This is the process in which we go, and we begin to speak more towards their heart than we do to their hands. And so we speak to their hands, do this, don't do this, don't run here, don't touch that hot stove. Now we speak more to their heart because we're gaining influence. These are the skills we want you to develop. And so this is where I would encourage, and what I'm learning with our one kid right now in this is speaking to the heart of, hey, what questions do you have? Asking questions beforehand, before just diving into do this, don't do this. Providing a little bit of how we want things done, not just what we want done. And then also reminding our kid, failure is okay and it doesn't define you. That we don't see you purely by what you do or what you produce or how well you did at this, that, or the other. That we begin to start thinking through those things.
Yeah. So it sounds like, moving from the what to the how, from the hands to the heart. And it sounds like, I imagine it's, depends on the kid, but it could be a much more gradual kind of shift. But if your child is just kind of more wired for heart, maybe it's a little faster,
I think you'll notice it in your kids because you'll, if you are caretaking well, and then you're doing listen and obey, whatever type of, whatever that looks like, or however you verbalize that, there will come a shift where all of a sudden it'll seem very intense or like emotional or whatever. It's like, okay, a shift has occurred.
Right.
I need to now start changing how I articulate this, which then gets really difficult if you have a kid, one in, say, the coach season and one in the caretaking season. Then it's like, oh my goodness, now I have to, my tactic has to change based on what kid I'm dealing with. So I got to be on like my A game all the time. But yeah.
And I think too, how does this look how does it look in the home, for example? Like, is this around the time that you start to give more responsibilities around the home, or like kind of what does that look like?
Yeah. So like for us, our kid who is in the coach stage, we give him more responsibility, and we give him and we explain how we want things done, not just what we want done. Whereas our daughter, who is still in the caretaking phase, we just explain what. And then what'll happen is, let's take like some of the chores. Let's take. I'm trying to think of what's like a good example chore. Unloading the dishwasher.
Yeah,
it's a
good one.
Putting the dishwasher away. Our son will hop up. He'll start doing it. And then, but like our daughter she'll hem and haw, and she'll kind of put a bowl away and then go color for 10 seconds. And then he'll kind of, no, come on, get back here. We got to finish this job. And so we have to have a conversation with him to remind him of, hey dude, like, appreciate you working hard. Let's remember that this is something that we want being done well and right, but we treat each other with kindness in the midst of this. Or taking out the trash. His job is to take out the trash. Her job is to replace the trash bag.
Perfect.
Like, just learn that responsibility. You might do it the wrong way, and it takes 9 times longer than it needs to, but you got the bag in there, and that's all that we care about. So I think that's where the shift begins. You can start to kind of speak into the way how things are being done, not just what is being done. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. And I think too, from what it sounds like, I don't think you can ever be too clear with how you want things done. I think sometimes people are like, they get to this phase and they're like, all right, it's time for you to start helping with the laundry. And then you just set the laundry basket in the middle of the room and you hope something happens. And you come back, and not speaking from, actually totally speaking from experience, you come back in and all the clothes are everywhere and they made a fort, and it's great. But
it's just like, explaining why, know, too. So like if phase 1 is what, phase 2 is how we want it done. Like you said, clarity, expectation, but then why. This is why we want this put here, or this is why we don't talk to people like this, or this is why we, when we come home, we don't turn the TV on right away, or this is why we ask, or whatever, whatever those ways to explain. I think that's where you're instilling skill and influence, because you're inviting them into understanding, opposed to just following.
Exactly. And I think it's helpful because around that stage, I know we have, our one daughter is 8, so she's like right at that.
Yeah, getting close to that. So coach phase, you're instilling skills.
Okay.
They're starting to think for themselves, process themselves. You want them to start being proactive in doing those. And then you hit what I call the consulting phase.
Okay.
So about, again, 14, 15 till 20, call it 20 to 22, 15 to 22.
Okay.
Consulting, you are then now. So if phase 1 is authority, phase 2 is you're trying to balance having influence and authority. By the time you get to the consultant phase, all you can operate on at that point is any influence that you've gained. So again, coach phase, like they are still reliant on you to be fed, to get to school, to any of their hobbies. They're not paying for it. By the time you have someone who's 17, 18, 20, you've got, not just functionally an adult, but someone who doesn't need to listen to you anymore if they don't want to. And so that's both good and bad. And so that idea of you are now hopefully consulting, you are like a strategy consultant, that you've garnered enough influence, that they respect you, and you have enough influence that when they need to make a decision, they will consult with you. Hey, where do you think I should go to school? If I'm going to go to college? Hey, what do you think about this job? What do you think about this person that I'm dating and interested in? Hey, what do you think about spending my money on this? What do you think about whatever? You become hopefully a consultant if you've done those things well and right. Here's the thing is, I think if you wait to parent until that age, you're doomed.
Right.
Like if you wait until they're 16, 17, 18 years old to start parenting seriously, you're doomed.
Wow.
Because they probably won't have a whole lot of, understanding of like authority. And then number two is you probably haven't gained a lot of influence. I could be wrong. And I just want to say like, I could be wrong.
It is very much an uphill battle.
Uphill battle. There you go. That's a fair way. That's probably a more pastoral way of saying it. And so like, but yeah, I think that's a goal. Like when my son and my daughter are 18 and they're getting ready to leave the house, go to college, go into the workforce, whatever path they choose, if they want to go into the military, whatever it is, I hope that they understand that we love them and we care about them, we support them, but that every choice you make in life, especially from that point forward, is going to have consequences. The consequences are both good and bad. Right. And so if you want I will consult with you of the choices you will make and whether or not I think this will yield a positive or negative consequence.
Right.
But I think too is like you can't protect your kid forever.
Right.
Like, like at some point you want them to leave and get their own job and get their own home and get their own family in a way that is good and honorable and loving and follows Jesus.
Right. Yeah. And if you have the foundation built, like you said, of the of that caretaker, that trust that gets built from like knowing that you're going to provide, but then also like in teaching them the skills and building them up in those things, I think it is a lot easier for kids to have that trust to be able to come to you and say, hey, I'm wondering about, doing a gap year for such and such, or like these things to where they then have the freedom to come and talk to you. I think if you lean too heavily into authority, I think, or you have the authoritarian last a lot longer, I think that is where sometimes people have kids have a hard time coming up to you and saying, I'm thinking of something that may be a little different than what you were planning for me. What do you think we should do to it? Because they're afraid you're just going to hammer it down.
Caretake too long. Then they become either overly reliant on you or they become like they just probably jump the other direction. It probably becomes this massive pendulum. It's going to be one or the other. So you have to gain influence over time. It always reminds me of that saying, if you raise your kids, you get to spoil your grandkids. But if you spoil your kids, you're going to have to raise your grandkids. Right. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to so many parents. I'm in, right now marrying a lot of young adults in our church whose parents come to our church as well. So like I know like at least 2 generations, sometimes 3. And there's a couple of families in particular where like I've just gone up to the parents like, I don't know what you guys did, but you guys crushed it. Yeah, like seriously. Because your kids know and love Jesus and they picked their spouse really, really well. And so I just kudos to you guys that, if you feel like you were a failure, whatever, you probably weren't perfect. That's okay. Yeah. But from what I know and what I've experienced spending time with your son and daughter-in-law or your daughter and son-in-law is like, you guys did really, really good. And so I just want you to know that. And I think in almost every single one of those parents, I said, yeah, there was hard and it was a lot of intentionality, but we get to celebrate, we get to enjoy that now. Yeah. And it's awesome. So that's where that last phase, you do your job the first 18 years, call it 18 years, you get them into adulthood. I'm not saying they turn 18, you kick them out of the house, good luck type of thing. And I'm not saying it's not fun and you don't enjoy your kids on the way up, but like enjoying them should never come at the expense of raising them and stewarding the things that we need to do so that you can celebrate and be friends later. Right. Like I think that's some of the coolest relationships that I have seen are when the kids get older, they become like more friends with their parents because they were parented well. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So that's goals, man. Right. Couple quick thoughts to close this and we can head into the Q&A. Yeah. Just again, stereotypically what I see is moms caretake too long. So they get to a 12, 15, 18-year-old and they're still caretaking. I'm just here to provide, just keep lifing easy, so on and so forth. So moms, like if you've got like a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, that you got to think, you got to start letting them wrestle through, start letting them fail. Don't make life easy for them forever. I think dads, though, we probably consult too soon. We probably jump too quickly into, well, life consequences, choices, deal with it. Life's hard, get a helmet, whatever, however you want to put it. And so it's finding that balance there.
That's cool.
And then the last thing that I just see again as a trend is if you don't manage a season, you bring it into the next.
Okay.
So if you don't manage the caretaker season well and make that shift into the coach season, you're going to have to be caretaking a 15-year-old. If you don't coach well, you're going to get into the celebration stage. Your kid's going to be 25 years old and you're still going to have to be coaching them through it. And so if you don't take care of the one season, you've got to bring it into the next, and then you have to transition it at some point. When that is, you'll know, just be aware of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
totally. Awesome stuff. So I know, there's always questions that kind of get popped up around here. So I'd love to just kind of do a little, Q&A. Now you talk about, last episode, we talked about like, it's never too late. In this episode, we did talk about like, even though it's never too late to like start bringing these things in, recognize it is going to be hard. So I'm just curious if there is somebody out there who's like, all right, Eric, I am, you're right. I'm in, I've taken. I have no idea. I have taken care too long.
Yeah.
Do you have any practical advice on like, how do we start pulling back the caretake and start to bring in that coaching side and that?
Yeah, I think so. Like creating like a fake situation.
Yeah.
You're a mom and dad, or a single mom or a single dad. And you've got a 14-year-old and you're having the realization you're still, for better or worse terms, babying them. And you're starting to, oh my goodness, they're getting ready to apply for colleges, and they're asking me to fill out their application for them. Whatever, whatever that aha moment might be. Yeah. What do I do then? I don't have a whole lot of don't know because I've never been through it. Yeah. What my gut wants to say is, number one is it's okay as a parent, give yourself grace to understand, okay, again, and these aren't hard, fast rules. Right. These aren't do this or else season types things. I just think it's pattern, but recognizing it and owning it for yourself, taking ownership yourself of like, I didn't do this well. And then probably having a humble conversation with your son or daughter or multiple kids and saying, starting there, hey, guys, I've realized I've not done the best job at preparing you well for this. So we're going to start making some changes around here, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult. Right. So here's what I am committing to, and here's what I am asking you to commit to. There you go. And then prepare yourself for backlash. 100%. Prepare yourself for kids being forgetful and remembering you're going to probably have to have that conversation over and over and over again. It's probably not we had that conversation once and we're good. You might have to have it 3 or 4 times, and you might have to eat crow 3 or 4 times, and you might have to catch yourself 3 or 4 times or 10 times or whatever. So that's probably how I would say to start, and you can't like backlog through it, but playing catch up as best you can.
And it's going to be very easy to start caring again, especially when the backlash hits and the, you know,
because again, you've conditioned and you've set a precedent. Right. And so now you're ripping a Band-Aid off, but I would say ripping the Band-Aid off is going to be way better than slowly trying to peel it back and do it like subversively without them knowing.
Yeah. And I do. Yeah. That is something I think is really important, is just that clarity, that open, be honest with each other, be honest with your kids and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Yep. Because if you make a change and they're completely unaware of it, then that can make the I feel like it would make the backlash worse. And again, if they're unsure of why this is happening, then it's going to make that transition and that season
like, hey, spoiler alert, parents, your kids know you're not perfect.
Yeah. Right.
So just own it.
Yeah. Yeah. And ask forgiveness. Like, model, like such a good opportunity to model that.
I think that's one of the best things we can do to model what it means to know and follow Jesus is to admit our wrongs, to speak out of conviction, to ask for forgiveness, and to commit to obedience, to do differently.
For sure.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Another question that, and again, if there are, questions that come out of these questions or whatever, put them in the comments, reach out to us. We'd love to, dig into these. But I always wonder when we do these kinds of conversations, any, words of wisdom, practical advice that you would give somebody who, did things well as far as, they got their kids up to, adulthood, college, but then when, they left the house, their faith wanders off. They feel like they got them started on the path. And then, through whatever reason, the path of faith, they decided to wander off onto a different path.
Yeah.
Especially like for those, I just think it is a lot harder when they're no longer like in the house. It's hard to have those kind of conversations. So I'm just curious if you have any insight or
There's going to be people who do that really well, and the kid grows up, goes to college, and still falls and walks away. And there's always going to be the opposite. There's always going to be kids who grow up in a home that wanted nothing to do with Jesus and whatnot, and the Holy Spirit gets a hold of their life because of a roommate or a coworker or something. And so, we don't have a whole lot of control over that.
Right.
And so I think that both gives me a lot of peace and scares me to death all at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it gives me a lot of peace of knowing Jesus loves my child more than I do and wants my child home with him more than I do. And he is so good and so sufficient, and he is going to put people in my child's path, even outside of myself, that are going to steer that. It's just going to be up to their own openness and receptivity. So like, it's peaceful in that instance, but that's not an excuse to then like not care or do what I can. And so it scares me to death, in the sense of like, but I have a massive, massive, massive influence.
Yeah.
Like for better or for worse, especially as a pastor, my kids are going to make their decision to some degree about whether or not they want in on Jesus based on who I am and who they see their dad at home, not just who they see their dad on Sundays, not just what dad preaches about, but how dad lives it out. Like they're going to have their antennas up all the time. And so that's like a massive also like thing. And so to parents who are trying to navigate through that, who are scared of that, you should be.
Yeah.
I think we all should be.
There's a healthy fear for sure.
There should be, a healthy fear and trepidation of, wow, like I have two young souls in my home, and I, especially as their father, who's also a pastor, has the most influence over their spiritual trajectory than anybody else. I don't care what you say, like, like 1A and 1B is me and my wife.
Right.
So like I think it's know that Jesus loves and desires your children to know him and to follow him. But he's also entrusted them to you to steward.
For sure.
And so take it really, really, really serious. Yeah. And I think that's like a fear that I don't know how to articulate it without it sounding mean, or a fear that I don't know how to articulate it without it sounding overly like triaged or verbose. Like, I don't know how many parents take that responsibility seriously. Like seriously, like there's this notion of you get all of this time in a short amount of time. Like, are we doing all that we can to show that the most important thing in this life is to know Jesus and love Jesus and follow Jesus and crave Jesus? Are we doing all that we can to ensure that they walk out of our home at some point understanding, even if they're like, that's not for me, but by golly, mom and dad took that seriously.
Right.
Or do we spend all this time and all this money and all this energy trying to get them set up in this life at the neglect of the next? So it should be like a balance of those somewhere in there.
Seriously. Yeah. And I would say the statistics of kids, staying in the faith and in high school and in college, like go up exponentially when their parents take it seriously.
Yeah.
That's something that I always thought was really interesting and like you said, so convicting. Like, again, our kids are going to see how important, like what's important to us based on how we live.
Yeah.
You can say
whatever you want.
Exactly. You can say all day long that Jesus is the most important thing, but if they notice that the way you spend your time, the way you spend your money, the way you spend, what you talk about is always 100,000 other things, then it's going to be hard. I do also think
you can't BS your kids.
Right. No.
You can pull the wool over on so many other things, but I mean, man, our kids, you can't pull one over on them. You can't say Jesus is important, and then they see how the family schedule works out on a week to week, month by month, year by year basis. You can't tell them eating healthy is so important to you, and then you got a cabinet full of Twinkies and candy, and you're slamming 2 bowls of ice cream every night. Like you can't pull one over on them.
Right. Man. And so yeah, that conviction I think is super important. I also do think there is that sense of like, as long as they're, like we said last episode, like as long as there's breath in their body, there's still a chance.
100%. Let's go.
So I think that prayer,
Luke 11 type prayer.
Exactly. You can always lift them up before God. You can always pray that people are going to come into their path, because I think sometimes, as much as we know that we have that influence, and we have all of that, and we cannot waste it, should not waste it. There is also that sense of like, God is so good in that even if you do waste it, there's still people he can bring into their life. There's still ways you can pray for them. There's still, so I just don't, and like you said, and I love your heart and your passion for this. And I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to have to rely or even hope that somebody else comes into my kids' lives to evangelize them when I get thousands of hours of them in my home.
I want to boldly and confidently say, I think I did all that I could. Exactly. I wasn't perfect, but I did as best as I could to model that. And so then it encourages me to make sure that I am doing what I can to control and be disciplined in my life to then be able to say to my kids or standing before Jesus one day and be like, I did all that I could. And I want him to say, well done, good and faithful servant.
Amen. Yeah. I really don't know any other like pithy way to end out
any
of this.
Other any other Q&As?
There are some like we could always talk about more practicals. We can always there were questions and stuff in there, but honestly, I think this is just a great place to end it here.
Don't give your kid a cell phone.
Yeah, right.
Before like 14.
That's a great practical.
Don't let them have screens in the room by themselves.
Yep. Don't
like giving them a hand grenade and saying have fun. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'd hate to think what would happen when I was a teenager and had unrestricted access to the internet. Dude.
That's just foolishness. That's just playing with fire.
Yeah, way too much.
I'm going to catch. I mean, I still remember. I remember when we did our parenting series, 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And I gave that advice, and I had a kid come up to me the next week. I lost my phone because of you, dude. I was so pumped.
Oh, dude.
I was like, kudos to your parents.
Yes. It was so good. Well, and that's such a good example, because it was, I think that kid was like 15, 16 years old. It was that sense of
he was like 12.
Oh, like 12. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the sense of like, parents recognized that there was something, took the stand and said, I'm going to take this away now.
Yeah.
Kid was upset, but great. I'd rather
average kid experiences some sort of mental health something at age 9. Average child experiences some form of pornography at age 10. They get exposed and have social media accounts by age 11.
Man.
That's just a cocktail waiting to explode in your face.
100%.
And so our answer is like, well, here you go. Just go into your room, have internet, talk to your friends. Like, no, man. No. Love your kid more than that.
Seriously.
Take it way more seriously. Like, know that there are wolves out there seeking to devour, that there is a king of darkness and lies and deception that wants nothing more than to steal your child's innocence and purity and heart. And so just don't be a conduit for that.
Right.
Don't convince and rationalize yourself with communication, or I don't want to be that parent, or I don't want to be seen as mean, or I want my kid to like me or whatever. I care about my kid way too much.
Sincerely.
Kids. I got to.
Yeah. Right.
Care about both of my kids way too much to even consider. Like we're, we've don't even know what age our kids will have a cell phone these days. And when they do, it'll probably be a dumb phone with no internet access.
And make calls.
Immense amount of parental controls type of thing. And they will be the odd ones out.
Yep.
And they will be weird and they might get made fun of. And we will explain to them why, because we care about your heart and your soul and your mind. And we want to protect it and have guardrails so that,
Yeah. Well, and not even just thinking of the amounts of, bullying and issues that come from social media and, all these things. Like I gave up. So I took social media off my phone personally. And the joy that I feel now, just not constantly being bombarded with the worst parts of humanity, and let alone like, I think about that with my mind now, back when my mind was developing, being constantly bombarded with the things of this world and so many things like, why would I want my kids to be exposed to so many of those things when when it's very easy to not give them the phone. It is very hard to take it away.
Yeah, that's good.
And just don't start.
But if you need to, do it and own it.
Yeah.
And
there are ways to lock it down if you feel like, the technology is very good. It's getting to that point to where like, if you want the GPS and stuff on there, there's, watches that you can get that you can lock that, lock them down. They can't access anything, but
there's probably ways and tools out there, but I would say be like 100% sure and over. I've just heard stories of people feeling like they have all the controls in lockdown and kids find a way around it.
Oh, seriously. One of our congregants, he does IT for a living, and he would, he has shared a few times of when, and I mean, and this guy has protections on protections. Yeah. And there are things that'll still sift through. Yep. And it's insane what's out there. And
fake social media accounts.
Well, like, innocuous sounding video games or apps, and then all of a sudden something pops up. Yep. I mean, it's like, man,
messaging through certain apps that are fine, but then being used inappropriately. Yeah, man. There's just, it's like, well, where there's a will, there's a way.
Seriously. And I would say, and I love that mentality, is like, recognize that anything that you give your kids could very easily become a window.
Yeah. Go to war against it. I think that's the thing. Is like, see everything as a threat.
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
I am not ashamed one bit to be that parent, to be that dad, to be like, well, that seems a little excessive or whatever. It's like, cool. And if it is, I'm not going to regret it.
Right.
I'm not going to regret
seriously
like protecting in that sense. I would always regret if something happened.
100%. Yeah. And again, for what? To not be weird. Again, to like, to be my kid's friend versus their protector.
Yeah.
Their parent. Yeah. Seriously. So super good practical there.
Yeah.
Do not give your kids unsupervised access to the internet.
No. Yeah.
I would say, like, whether it's a phone, watch, video game console, family computer, if those still exist.
Yeah. Just know that I think, just in conclusion, these last 2 episodes, for all the parents listening, you can do this. Trust in the word that is pure and is good, and trust that the Holy Spirit wants to use you in a mighty and powerful way.
Amen.
And kids are a great joy and privilege and responsibility. Steward them well, steward them wisely, and steward them, though, for the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of earth.
Amen.
And I'll end with that.
Go be the church where you live, work, and play. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Go Be Church podcast. We'll see you next time.